Mohd Ali Shah, we've taken a look at what has happened recently, but this is not a recent phenomenon. For the past decade and more, there have been these satellite images that showcase the before and after position of the Uyghur Muslims, the communities living from the minorities, from the Muslim community particularly, where there's been strong Hanization, strong Sinicization of these areas. There have been concentration camps, there education, quote-unquote reform. There have been dismantling of the mosques, desecration of these mosques. These minarets have been removed, the domes of the minarets have been removed. And what in its place has come up is these Han architecture, which are these roofs which have slopes. Which is very reminiscent of what Hanization looks like. The idea is to homogenize the entire Chinese mainland. And what is also shocking is that the Chinese have been able to do so without any sort of strong opposition from the outside, from the global community, as Basuti Mukherjee rightly pointed out. She said that while there are protests, while there are sanctions that are imposed, but these are just in theory. These are just on paper. Actual action is not being taken on the Chinese because trade continues as before, investment continues as before. There is the Europe and the Americans that are reliant on China to build their investments, to build their trade. And if there is cut off from China, their economies are also going to drown. So what is the penal action that China is facing for this blatant violation of human rights laws?
Well, Megha, China has been repeatedly doing this. Now, the recent protests that we saw with the protesters threw water bottles at the officers who were helmets and shields. That was outside the Blue Dome Najing Mosque in Yuxi city in Yunnan province. And that was one incident which has gone reported. There have been such incidents which have been going on. And as the ambassador rightly said, where is the OIC right now? OIC should have stepped in and should have expressed the displeasure straight away. But no, this kind of discrimination keeps happening in China. Now, when we look at minorities, how they're being treated in China, look at minorities in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Iran. Megha, I'll tell you one thing. The best country for minorities where their rights are protected, where they're respected, where you get that secular spirit is only in India. I don't think that kind of respect for any minority. I'm not talking about in India, the minorities are Islam, Jainism, Buddhists, Sikhs, Christians. No, I'm talking about any minority anywhere. Which Hindus can be a minority in Pakistan, which they are. So look at the way they are treated. The temples are desecrated. So I think China, and I am surprised that the international community do not have the courage or the gumption or whatever to come up and stand up to China and then call out the shots over there. No. People are quietly, and there's no resistance in China. I mean, okay, people inside, they are protesting, all right, but there's no resistance from the international community. People have accepted it. Where are the...
No, unfortunately, if there is resistance that is shown by these indigenous communities, by these religious groups, well, they are killed, they're either killed, they're exiled, they're put in concentration camps, and they witness brutalist of the actions that from the CCP.
Absolutely, Megha. That the very fact is they're concentration camps, and the Xi Jinping has cracked down very heavily on religion and society. He is going to be a dictator. He will control. He will tell people how to live, and people are over there in China are going to buy it. They will say yes, and the minorities over there are going to suffer really badly, and the international community is going to watch and watch the fun. Look what had happened in Germany, Nazi Germany. That time, Hitler was a dictator. He said, okay, all the Jews to be put in concentration camps, and people were kept shut at that time. And the international community, of course, within Germany itself, people kept shut. people, whatever, for names, saying minuscule. Similarly, in China, I would call it a minuscule protest. People throwing water bottles on policemen who are shielded with helmets, one going and punching a policeman in the helmet. I don't think that the resistance is enough, actually, frankly speaking. And because they do not have support from the international community, no one from there is coming and supporting.
Right.
Destroying any place of worship which is sacred to anyone, it can be any place of worship. It is a total criminal act. It is hurting anyone's religious sentiments.
Agreed.
That's what's happening in China, unfortunately, and it's very sad that tamasha dekh rahi hai is baat ka.
Major Ali Shah, I'm going to particularly highlight what is so gruesome, what is so brutal about these attacks and genocide that is taking place of the Uyghurs of the Muslim community in China is that these Chinese officials and authorities are not even letting Muslim people to rear children. The women are being sterilized, the men are being sterilized. The Quran, the holy book of the Muslims, of Islam, is torn and thrown away and burnt. And what they are being taught in these concentration or the education camps that the Chinese call it is a quote-unquote new way of life, which is the Han way of life. To change the buildings that you live in, change your ideologies, change your religious beliefs, change your thought processes. Now, I have not heard anything more brutal that has taken place in any part of the world.
Megha, there's a saying that be careful about how much you accept and how much you bend. It lets others give a way of treating you that way. So I believe in one thing: if you take rubbish, you get rubbish. If you decide you will not take rubbish, you will not get rubbish. Now, also, I would hold the minorities in China also to some extent, because I'll give you a small example. Like, for example, the Nanjing Mosque, which has a blue domed in UB, in Yuxin city in Yunnan province. In 2020, the court had ordered for its demolition in 2020 because they said it was constructed without permission. But people had taken that order and they were lying down. There was not much of resistance, nothing. Why? Because for everyone to understand this, I'll give an analogy. If there's a fight happening between two people in a public place, one sees the support he's getting from the Aam Janta, from the Awam, and then accordingly he'll fight as per that. If he's not getting any support, he will also withdraw. Like, for example, in a WhatsApp group, sometimes he will fight, and if he doesn't get any support, he withdraws. Similarly, the people in China, the minorities, they are unable to resist. Why? Because even here this protest throwing water bottles at the police. One man came in and punched somebody in the helmet, and that's about it. And little resistance was shown.
I mean, what else can these poor people do?
Right. So that's exactly what I'm coming to. Because these poor people, the word you mentioned, poor people die because they're poor, because they do not get support from outside. And because they do not get support from the international community, they are where they are today. Had they been getting support from the international community, no one would have dared to have touched them. They also could have been strong in resisting. Now, the very fact is they have bent already so forward, there is no scope for them to resist. So it just drives home a point that, to be careful how much you can accept. It gives others to treat you that way. So if you treat yourself, so the fact is in China, what can they do? If people unite, one can actually build up resistance. One can actually reach out to the international community. The representative, the leaders, so-called, can reach out to the OIC. They can muster support if they want to, but little resistance.